Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're continuing on with our alphabet soup.
A to Z.
A
Playing
to
through our
Z.
entire collection.
Yes.
And recapping every letter along the way.
Yes. And we're currently doing S. If you looked at the description, you probably saw.
Yep.
But this is another letter that kind of has a decent amount.
Yeah, one of our biggest letters, I would say.
It's kind of one of the last ones that has a larger amount.
Yep.
That and then T has a kind of a bigger amount too. And then the rest of the letters kind of have just a few games.
A handful.
So.
But yeah, one of our biggest letters with some of our smallest games. And I'll start off with one of them that has actually been under my hands this entire time.
Oh boy.
That is Sprawlopolis.
Yes.
This is a micro game where you're playing different cards, kind of building a city with, there's 4 different kind of colors on the card, districts, and you're kind of trying to create large sets of each of those, as well as getting the fewest amount of roads, trying to connect all your roads into long roads, because you score negative points for each road that you have. And in addition to this, each card, there's like 18 in the game, and you set aside 3, flip them over, and each has a unique scoring condition as well for the end of the game. And I really enjoyed this. I think you only played it like once or twice. I played it quite a few times, and I've really, really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I find it to be a fun, interesting game if you're looking for a short solo experience. And I don't know, I think there's some other ones kind of in that kind of line, but yeah, it's a pretty solid one if you like short solo games every now and then.
Yeah.
And it's obviously being a micro game, you can kind of take it with you wherever you go and play it kind of wherever.
Yeah.
But that is not the only micro game we have in the S's.
Even smaller game here.
Smitten, which is also 18 cards, I believe.
Yep.
You said that one was 18?
18, yep. There are expansions in here, which adds a few more, but base game's 18.
Yeah. I think when Jamie released this, he had said something about micro games being 18 cards. I guess I don't know that much about micro games, so maybe that might just be a common thing with them. But yeah, this was one that they released for their 10th anniversary, and we actually have a couple videos of this related to this for a kind of our first initial thoughts of it, and also unpackaging of the 18 cards, so you can check that out if you're interested in kind of the looks of it. But yeah, it's just an interesting one where you're building. So there's 2 copies of each card. They each kind of have a power that you're playing, and it's a 2-player game, or it can be a solo. We've only played it 2-player, or have you played solo?
I played it solo.
Okay. And the 2-player version, 1 player will play a card, and there's no order. You could keep having the same person lead, then the other person usually has to do something based on an effect on that card. And you're trying to get the 2 grids. They're kind of numbered 1 through 9, and both grids you're trying to get in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pattern. And yeah, it makes for a nice little puzzle.
Yeah, if you check out our first impression, a little bit thing we said was that we didn't know if there'd really be much here. We thought maybe it'd just be a celebration, kind of celebrating Stonemaier, but I actually have enjoyed this one a lot more than I ever expected to.
Yeah, I would 100% agree.
Yep.
And it nods to their other games as well, if you know those ones.
Yep.
Then we get into another solid game of Sushi Go Party. So if you've ever played just the original Sushi Go, it's got that kind of game in it, along with some additional options of what you can play with, kind of the card combinations. And what's on the menu. So different types of scoring and things. This one's been in our collection for quite a while now. We hadn't actually played it in a little bit, I feel like. Even though it's one that plays well at some higher player counts, and you can really change up the game. It's a very fast game, because it's just pretty much card drafting and set collection. And it's a very solid party. I would say almost party.
It's got party
in the name. It's a party for sure, and I would highly recommend this one if you are looking for some simpler games to introduce people to the hobby with. This has been a great one in our collection.
Yep. I absolutely love this one. It's been consistently in mine and Mac's top 50 games of all time, and she has said, she's not here right now, but she said this is her favorite S game. There are a couple others that were close, but she decided to go with this one.
Yeah, and in this too, we sometimes talk about if we're going to call a game. We actually haven't called too many recently, and I think
we're kind of one of the reasons why we started it was to kind of get to those games that we haven't gotten back to and make a final decision on possibly letting them go.
And we wouldn't call any of those because it's a favorite and two very small games, so that wouldn't really help.
Oh, we're making a lot of room getting rid of
right. I think at the end of the year we'll probably have a video on kind of the recap of that. So then we get into Shards of Infinity. So, like you said, a lot of small games here.
Yes.
And this one is a card-driven game where you're building deck builder. It's very similar to other deck builders if you've played Dominion. But I think I'd compare this one to, I think it's Fantasy or Hero Realms or games like that, where each person has a health dial and you're doing things to try to basically drain your opponent's health down to 0. So it's one that I think probably plays best at 2 players, but you can play up to 4. It has a few interesting things in it. There is a card where throughout the game you're collecting these shards, and once you get to a certain amount, there is a card that if you pull it and play it, you do an infinite amount of damage and kill your opponent. So that's kind of a, I don't know, it's shoot the moon, but it's just kind of a way to win the game kind of in another way, sort of.
I've enjoyed our plays of this. It's a solid game, but I don't know, like if we did have to make cuts, I feel like this one would be one of the ones to go. We just have a lot of other games like that, like Unmatched, I think is one that kind of is your top kind of battling, dueling type game, and I feel like this is in that same line, so if we really had to make a cut, I feel like this one could go, even though I have enjoyed it.
Right, and we've got a few other deck builders that I think I like more, so I would agree. This is, especially for the S games, very near the bottom of the ones, and I could definitely
which shows it's a solid letter, because we've enjoyed our plays of it.
Right. We've got another game that plays best at 2
bigger
players.
And bigger now.
Best at 2 players because it is only 2 players.
Bruno Catala.
We finally get to one of his games again. But this one is 7 Wonders Duel. If you've ever played 7 Wonders, this is a 2-player version of it, which takes some things from 7 Wonders, but then kind of adds a whole another layer to it of a kind of a pyramid of cascading cards, with some of them flipped face down, some flipped or face up, and you're kind of drafting out of the face up ones that are available to you, and you're picking from that pyramid
and revealing the cards behind it for your opponent to draft, which is just a wonderful way, I didn't even mean to do that, way to
7 wonderful ways.
There are 7 wonderful ways to draft in this game, but 2-player drafting, not always the best, but this one just works so perfectly.
I would agree, and
I love all the different ways to win. I almost never pursue winning with points. I'm like, I want to win by shooting the moon with military or collecting science. Like, I don't know. I just love pursuing those, and they can win like that. It's not like super out there,
right? It's pretty
because
common.
I pursue it most of the time. I do see a lot of games end that way.
I would say it's pretty common for. I guess, I don't know what the percentage would be for games won via science, via military, via points, but it happens often enough that it's not shocking. It's not like, oh my gosh. That's another really solid one. I think Michaela would probably say that's one of her top ones as well.
Yeah, this one was one she mentioned as well.
And that's probably for the smaller games. There is one bigger game coming up that's probably my favorite, but for smaller games, it would be either 7 Wonders Duel or Sushi Go Party. Depending on how many players I had, I would say those 2 would be my kind of second favorites.
I have quite a few games that I love here, this one and Sushi Go Party, and a few more coming up. So I'm going to have to make a tough decision as to my favorites.
He's going to have to make a tough decision. Then we got another small box. This one falling over.
Phil Walker Harding.
Yes.
Phil Walker Harding and game right, just like Sushi Go Party. Oh,
wow.
My gosh.
I didn't even think about that. So he's got the S's on lock.
But this is the flipping right, where you have kind of a cards with a grid of numbers 1 through 9. It could be any mix up of those numbers, and you're flipping numbers 1 through 9. Again, I think you have 18 cards there, but then you choose 9 of them and go through those, and you're just crossing off the numbers and when you fill out a row or a column in your cards, they can gain you bonuses, as is usually with flipping rights and rolling rights, getting bonuses, and scoring for your completed cards, scoring for different tokens that you can gain throughout the game, moons, and kind of, what is the other one?
It's stars, I think.
Stars. Oh yeah, you can gain stars.
Like the pink stars, blue moons.
Yep. I've enjoyed this one quite a bit. Right away, I was like, is there enough here with the bonuses? I think I was a little spoiled from Gons, shown Clover, being kind of the first big bonus roll and write game that I played, and I just really love those. And I don't think anything has been able to meet the satisfying bonuses in that game for me. But I have grown to like this one quite a bit, and it's just so quick and so snappy. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I would agree. I think, for me, the bonuses probably aren't enough. So I like Hadrian's Wall quite a bit, and actually played Three Sisters recently, which is kind of similar to Fleet the Dice game. There's some similarities, and those give a lot of bonuses, kind of like Gone Shown Clever. Those are probably my favorite ones right now, along with Gons versus the bonuses in this. But I think out of all of those, this is probably the most friendly to
most
people.
Approachable.
Most approachable, most friendly to just someone getting into a hobby or something like that. I think, and then there's enough game there for sure. Because I could see myself playing this one with my parents, and I know if I tried to show them Hadrian's Wall, that would probably be too much going on, or even possibly Gons. I don't know if that'd be too much, just because there's a little bit more to think about.
And there's so many unique ways to score in those games, where this one's pretty straightforward, and I think that's good because kind of the cover, it just looks like something you'd see at Target, and you could just randomly pick up as a game someone could, and I think this is a good one for that because it's going to be approachable once you open it up. Some other games may not be that way.
Right. But I would say for me, I could probably get rid of it, but I think it's a solid enough game to keep in the collection to have as an option for that type of thing. And then we get into another one that I would find to be a pretty good option to play as to kind of introduce people into the hobby a little bit. And this is So Clover, which is, I don't want to say the follow-up to Just One, but it makes me think of Just One, which is
another
probably
word
one of my favorite party games.
Yeah, the biggest word game, most popular since Just One. Same box size. I think they're both. Are they both Repos production?
I think they're both Repos.
Ooh, Seven Wonders Duel also Repos production. All these.
A lot of the small games.
They are.
They make a lot of solid ones, though.
But yeah, this one, I think we heard some hype about it when it was initially released, and it's like, oh my god, Just One, two.
Right.
So I was very excited to try this one, and it's definitely lived up to the hype for me. Just really enjoy you kind of getting pairs of words that you give hints towards to get other people to find those same pairs of words. I just really enjoy that, and sometimes you just have to go with the first thing that comes to your head, and maybe it'll just make sense to those other people as well. Just a really clever Clover game. I enjoyed quite a bit.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I would still, I do still prefer Just One, and I think that would still be the better option probably over this one to teach new people. But I think you'd get either one works. I think this one's just, I think, a little bit more intimidating when you're doing the words by yourself type thing. But I think it's still, once you play one round of it, you'll know how it works. And I think this one's just sometimes a little bit harder to come up with words, whereas in Just One, like for 99% of the words, you're probably going to be able to come up with something almost immediately. And
it just
keeps
like
the
trying
game
not
going.
to match other people.
Right.
But
yeah.
Oh, getting bigger.
And we've got the bigger. Oh boy, now I know. I was wondering. I guess I hadn't remembered what games were in here that maybe you would say are your favorites, but I don't want to spoil anything. I'll have you explain Space Base a little bit.
This one is in consideration.
Ooh, in consideration.
It might be the favorite. But yeah, this is a game where you everyone has a command center of 1 through 12, and your rolling dice, kind of Catan style, go around the table. Everyone rolls a pair of dice, and you activate all the spots that are rolled. So you roll a 6 and a 1, you can activate either your 7 or your 1 and your 6, which is, I really love that. So it just kind of mixes up a little bit, kind of the odds of things, and maybe wanting to stack your lower numbers because they're going to happen more often, or maybe kind of go in those better benefits in the later ones, in the 10s, 11s, and 12s. Which you do quite a bit, and it doesn't often work out.
Yeah, it seems like the times that I don't do it,
but I did
someone
it,
else will.
But I did it once,
and
it
it'll
did
be
work
successful. So it is cool when it works.
Yeah. So I just love that. Love gaining benefits on other players' turns, because you can, when you replace by a card in a sector, you deploy the card that was there, flipping it upside down to now gain benefits in that sector when others roll it. And I just absolutely love that about this game, gaining on other players' turns, often gaining more on other players' turns if it's a higher player count than you do on your turn. Just absolutely love it, and it's always feels like it has a good pace to it, like it just really ramps up. Maybe not for everyone, but for at least one person, it does end up ramping up, and just a good time for the game.
Yeah, you could almost call it space-based race, because it is pretty quick once you get going, get something going, or like you said, at least one player does. It usually doesn't go on too long once you've played this game a few times. I think I probably seem like the downer on this game just because I know you really love it, and I think Michaela likes it a little bit more than me, but I think she's faded on it a little bit, maybe based on a play of it. But yeah, I like it quite a bit. I think there's cards that for some reason I'm intimidated by, like the ones that you have to charge. So then I just don't use those in the game, so then it feels like, I don't know, a good chunk of the cards I'll just never play with, so I just kind of do the same ones, so it kind of hurts a little bit for me, but I do like getting this one out every now and then, and I like the way that you're able to split your numbers. So unlike Catan, where it's like you might just get really unlucky and never get resources, usually if you, like you said, stack your lower numbers a little bit, you'll start to get some returns on those things, at least, even though they may be lesser rewards than the higher numbers. But and I do like how it plays differently from a 2-player game to like a 4 or 5-player game. Like you said, I think you have to be aware of the player count, because you'll want to really upgrade as many as you can in a higher player count, because that'll get you more benefits.
So tough. So many good S games.
Oh boy. And then, whoa, we get big box. This is huge compared to the other ones, even though the game itself doesn't really feel that huge.
It does not. Not really.
But this one is Sonora, and it is a flick and write game. So each player has a sheet of 4 different sections that they're filling in with a marker. It's a laminated sheet. So you can you just be using the same sheet each time, and then there's in the center of the table, or wherever you put it, I guess, there's just kind of a station with those same 4 areas in it, and you'll be flicking a disc from one of the corners of
different value discs, like 1 through 5.
1 through 5 value disc, and then flicking them into the different zones, and depending on where they end up, you get to use kind of that disc value to do something in the corresponding zone on your sheet. And this one kind of has some of those bonuses as well. I think I find this one more satisfying than the Super Mega Lucky Box as well.
I think so.
Because you can change
bonuses
these ones
seem
together
very,
as well.
very powerful. In this
yes, they do for sure. You need to get some of these for sure just to, I think, score well. It's just, this can be a pretty high scoring game, and it's really fun, because there's also little circle spaces in the zones on the board you're flicking in. And if you end up on there, you kind of get double the reward.
Double the disc.
And you can even, there's ways that you can kind of move your disc. So maybe you got a 1 on that double spot, but you want to, and your 5 is maybe in a spot you didn't really want it to be. You could kind of flip those, and then all of a sudden you can double a 5 or something. It just is really satisfying. And at first, I think I wasn't sure what I thought about the game. It's probably like a 6 to 7 for me, and I think as I've played it more and more, it's kind of gone up. It's not one that I'd want to play like all the time, but I like getting it out every now and then.
Yeah, I was going to say that exact same thing. I was like, right away, I was like, it's cool, it's nice. But then as I've just played it more, I'm like, this is a really, really awesome game, for sure. so different, and it just works. It's not just a gimmick, flicking right. It actually really does work.
It does, yeah. Because there's even the center spot. Although I feel like I have never, ever tried to just keep going for that.
I've never gone for it.
I don't know why, because you have more control that way, whereas when you're flicking it out, people can hit yours, and you end up all over. It's weird. I've never actually gone for just center.
So, I mean, the only thing that you cause yourself to lose is the possibility of a double by not going in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're probably not going to get a ton of those anyway, but it is nice when you do.
Yes.
It's worth the risk, as someone might say. We got another big box, and that is Steampunk Rally Fusion.
Yes.
This is is it new this year to us, or did we play it late last year?
I think we got it late last year. I think we got it in the fall.
Because, I think, but this is kind of the first play we've had in quite a while of this one, and I don't think, have any of those other ones been new this year? Was Super Mega Lucky Box new?
So Clover? Maybe?
So Clover was new, but this one's definitely newer to us. Smitten. And it's a race game, as you can maybe tell by the cover. You're just kind of trying to get through this track as quickly as possible by making a machine a well-oiled machine that just runs really well, is powered by dice. And there's, you can get like movement, you can get additional dice, you can kind of vent out your machine, and you just have to make sure kind of your pieces fit together. And then there's different areas you're going through that kind of can start destroying your machine, which could cause you to lose pieces of it. And I've found the 2 plays of this to be pretty satisfying and somewhat quick. I would say we did run into this in the game. I would say this last game that we played. I would say if some person's machine is like working really well off itself and another person's isn't, they might have to wait a little bit longer, and I could see there could be some waiting time if yours isn't working, and that would make it kind of even less satisfying if you're seeing, this person's doing all this stuff. So I could see that being a little bit of an issue. Yeah. But I really enjoy the puzzle of it and trying to get pieces of your engine that kind of work together really well.
Yeah, I enjoy that quite a bit as well. It gives me feels of Furnace, and It's a Wonderful World, both games that we love quite a bit, and this has that same thing with dice added in as well, which love dice.
Love rolling dice. You get to roll quite a few dice.
Yep. And we kind of got a deluxe edition, so we've got metal cogs and fantastic components, and it's just so satisfying every time. Even if you just move 3 spots, your engine worked and you got those 3 movements, just
seems like a lot in this game.
Yes,
which is crazy. That's really awesome. But it was a good play of it, and I look forward to trying some more.
Yes.
But then we've got one that you did not actually play. You watched a little bit at the end.
I watched it just a few hours ago.
Yeah, that's true, and that was our first play of it. We had not played this one yet, so it's new to us this year. And it was me versus Michaela, Summoner Wars 2nd Edition. And in this one, it's a bit of a battle as well. A 2-player only game, kind of like a Seven Wonders Duel. And in this one, you are summoning kind of different creatures out to try to kill the other person's summoner. And just from our one play, I found it pretty satisfying that each deck is a little bit different, and kind of Michaela used this one where she was kind of putting up ice barriers to kind of shield herself, keep her summoner safe, and mine seemed to be more of like a one that was kind of doing some, I don't know if you'd call it synergies or something, but kind of putting different, now I'm forgetting the term for it. Oh yeah, boosts. Boosting a lot of cards, being able to do a lot of boosts, and then using those boosts to kind of do special actions with my people. And I just found that both of them felt like they were really cool, really unique, and I'm looking forward to kind of trying the other 4. So I don't think this one will be leaving the collection. I thought this might be a little bit intimidating, but I don't think it's too bad. I think there's a bit of terminology on certain things, but it does have in the rule book like kind of a glossary of all terms that you'd kind of see on the different cards. So I think that should be a pretty good way of easily checking, like, oh, what does this mean if you're doing this? And
but just watching it, I didn't get any rules explanation, but it seemed pretty simple, kind of the how the turn works out and how it all works. And I
That's
thought
all
it was
on the
pretty
board
easy
and
to
stuff.
pick up. Yeah, I saw that it was printed on there, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't seem overly intimidating. Obviously, card effects could be unique, but pretty straightforward. Other than that,
Yeah.
look pretty fun. I would say.
Yeah. I would definitely look into it if you like battling type games, 2-player only.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. Oh boy. Then we've got an old top game of all time for me, and that's Stone Age. And this one's a kind of classic worker placement game, kind of next level game. It's one, I don't know, it could be our oldest S game. I'm not sure. Sheriff was pretty old too.
Sheriff was.
We're going to get to. But it's one of our older ones. And it's one that really made me fall in love with worker placement. I would say now, if you watched our video from last year, from our challenge that year, we played a 10x10, Michaela and I. And one of the games we put on there was Stone Age, so we played it 10 times. And after that, it was starting to kind of show a little bit of...
Didn't hold up.
Yeah, wasn't holding up as much. But I did like the play getting back to it. I don't know that this would be one that I'd play anywhere near 10 times in a year again. But it is a solid enough one that I'm like, I just can't. I don't know if I could get rid of this one just because it used to be my favorite game of all time, and with all the new games, it's kind of.
I think it's a classic one that probably we should keep, even if we don't ever play it, just to introduce others possibly as well. I think it's a good one for that. I've always enjoyed my plays of it. I think I've won it maybe once or twice. I think that was just a one-on-one, me versus you, and I don't remember winning it any other time, but I do always enjoy that. Just a dice worker placement and trying to spread it as thin as possible and still get everything you want. It's just something I love in that game.
Yeah, you can kind of do that. You can either kind of almost for sure yourself something, or you can kind of pull a Champions of Midgard type deal, which I think you could do that in Champions of Midgard too. You could either kind of for sure something, or you can spread it thin. I think that's kind of a similar feel with the dice in this game, and it just is so smooth, so solid. It's a great introductory to worker placement.
For sure.
And then we've got Sniper Elite, the board game.
The board game, based on the video game, which neither of us have played.
We have not.
But yeah, I saw this one, saw Dice Tower playthrough, fell in love, kind of wanted a hidden movement game. We had played Jaws at once, and was like, okay, maybe this one. And finally delivered after such a long wait. But we played it. And I enjoyed this one. I guess this is like a first impression. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but I've enjoyed this one quite a bit. Every single time we've played it, whether trying to find the sniper or being the sniper and trying to throw someone off, sometimes just sitting in place for a few turns, and they're going to be thinking that you're moving across the map and you're really right where you were last time they saw you. Love that, trying to outthink and trick the opponent. Really like it, as well as a little bit of bag building in there as well for when you do take a shot. You pull an amount of chips from your bag and try to get enough hits to reach the target without revealing your location if you do draw negative chips.
I would agree. I think it's a pretty solid game of that type, and I think I've played both kind of once. I enjoyed being the sniper, I think, quite a bit more than I did the other side, but I think this one did a solid enough job where if you were the people kind of searching, you'd still get to do some interesting things. But I don't know that this would be my favorite game. I think there's just a few things in it that are just kind of a little bit, I don't know, finicky or something to me, but overall I think it's a solid hidden movement game, and I could see you having a lot of fun with this one because there's a lot of, at least in the version we had, I guess I don't know what the retail version or whatever would have in it, but you can kind of switch out what my people would do, main people, and you can kind of switch out cards that you can pick. It has some replayability there as well.
Yep, for sure. This one's also in consideration for favorite S game.
Oh boy.
This is going to be tough. There's so many good ones. Seven Wonders Duel, Sushi Go Party, Space Base, Sniper.
Scoville, that's the one.
I am Pepper.
You are Pepper. And this game is about pepper, so it's a pretty unique theme. You could argue that it's kind of farming.
Yeah.
It could have easily been any kind of farming, but I feel like since they went with peppers, it made it a little more unique, and I think it worked because you're kind of... It almost feels like you are competing in like a chili cook-off or festival type thing. I don't know why. If it's probably just mental me thinking it into existence, because it is just kind of a contract fulfillment game like many others. So if you were just doing some other crop, like normal crop, you'd probably just think it was just a normal farming game. But this one with the peppers, you're kind of creating different recipes and can sell those. You can sell your peppers. You're cross-breeding the peppers by kind of doing some grid movements through them. So if you got like a blue and red pepper, you make a purple pepper, and then you just it's a fun game. I don't know if this is another one that I don't know how much it's going to actually get played, but the theme is fun, and
looks
just
amazing.
Putting the peppers,
components are amazing as well.
Right, putting the peppers out on the board because there's little holes in the board to put the peppers in to plant them, which is just awesome. I wish some other farming game would do that with their growing or whatever, but that part's just awesome. And then the way the actions work is kind of cool, but it kind of sometimes feels weird. I don't know why. But you're kind of planting in one turn order, and then in reverse turn order you're harvesting, and then you're going back to fulfill contracts in the other. It's a little interesting.
Like I want to be first to plant, and I want to be first to fulfill the order, but then I'm not going to be first to actually harvest and maybe get the peppers that I need to fulfill that order. So it's just kind of a really tricky thing to wrap your head around. It's like, do I let them plant first? Then I could get first dibs at the good peppers out there. But this is one that's always been like, because I think we got this one like with Ethnos and Quack's Equivalentberg, and those ones are just amazing top games in our collection. So this one's always felt like, not like super disappointment, but not as high as those two.
Right.
So this one's always been in my head of might leave the collection, but every time I do get back to playing it, I do have so much fun with it.
Yeah, that one's gonna be tough, but it's towards the lower part, I think, of the card. Then another one that's probably fallen, just based on it. I think it is a game that plays better at higher player counts, and that's Sheriff of Nottingham. We actually played this as a Nacho Average board game tournament this year, just because.
Check out the recap video.
You can check out the recap video, just because it's better at the higher player counts, and I think people enjoyed it enough, but I know it probably isn't like Michaela's favorite. I don't know that Abby loves the game either. And
I've always loved the game.
I know you've always loved the game.
And I don't even like lying in games.
I know you've always loved the game, and I like the game enough, but we just have so many games now, and I don't know that this is one that I'd want to bring out that often. But it's probably similar to Scoville, where I play it like once a year or something, so I could maybe see it going, maybe not. But you're pretty much just trying to do a little bit of set collection of bringing in legal goods of cheese, chicken, bread, and something else. What's the other one? I don't remember.
Chicken, bread, apples.
And apples. Trying to bring those in and kind of get the most of each one of those to kind of win special rewards. But then you can also try to sneak in some contraband if you're feeling sneaky. So kind of every player but one's going to be trying to do that during the round, while the other player is the sheriff. And then you can kind of bribe the sheriff to either let you through, maybe you brought some contraband in, or the sheriff can check your bag. And if you did bring the contraband in, you have to pay the sheriff, and you lose the contraband. But if you were being honest, then the sheriff has to pay you for kind of wasting your time. So it's definitely an interesting game. We don't have really any others like that in the collection, so that's what kind of keeps it probably around.
I think this one should definitely stay in the collection. It's a classic. It's a Dice Tower essential, at least this version of the game. Plus, if you get rid of this version and want it back,
the one's not quite
the other one's just doesn't have the same feel.
No, this one definitely has a way better look and feel.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Love it. In my top 50. Check out those videos too.
Ooh, check that out. Is it in your top 50?
Yep.
Wow. I didn't realize you loved it that much.
Or maybe I'm lying.
You might be. But then we got to one that you just played recently.
Yes.
Me and Abby and Michaela had kind of went through several scenarios already, but we brought you in on this one just to give you a taste.
Because you'd failed so many times.
We had failed pretty miserably.
An expert.
But that is Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, Jack the Ripper, and West End Adventures. And we have not done the Jack the Ripper piece, but we've done a few of the West End Adventures, and it's kind of I don't know if you'd call it an escape room type game or exit type game, or sort of, but
yeah, it's
or
not
maybe
like puzzles.
Right, I guess not really puzzles, but
maybe a little more like Chronicles of Crime.
That's true. You're trying to solve.
I think you're very much on your own, trying to figure out motives and kind of just how everything worked out of the crime. Probably just the most real crime-solving feel that I've gotten from a game.
Right.
It's very interesting because you're going through the newspaper. Some things may have to do with this case, some for other cases, some nothing at all.
Right.
So
yeah,
I just
and
found
then
that
sometimes it'll be newspapers from past ones will come up in these ones. And we'd taken a little bit of a gap before we did this one, so that might have hurt it. And you obviously hadn't been involved in the other one, so you'd never ever read these newspapers before, and you were bringing up. You were reading certain things, and then I was like, "Oh, that was for a case we already did." but yeah, it is a totally different feel than a lot of these other ones. Yeah, you have those newspapers, you have a directory where you can find people and where they live and stuff, and yeah, it's just interesting. You can go talk to different people, and some will give you more information, some won't. And then, of course, by the end of the game, you have to have Sherlock kind of spank you pretty hard because he's going to tell you, "Oh, I solved this in like 3 steps," and then you're looking at your paper and you're like, "Okay, it only took us 16, and we didn't actually even solve it." But
yeah, we ended up with 0 points.
We did end up with 0 points. We needed 100 to beat Sherlock, so we had a ways to go. But yeah, this one's a very tough game. But if you don't care about for sure solving every piece of it. And you don't care about beating Sherlock, then I think it's a really interesting game. But it is very difficult.
Yes, for sure.
So don't go into this thinking that, this is going to be easy fun, because I love the Sherlock theme. It's quite difficult. Now we're getting into the real big ones.
Another contender.
Suburbia Collector's Edition. And this is one that you ended up getting?
Yep. And your friend was very jealous of this because he'd been looking at Suburbia for a while.
That's true.
Has he? Yeah, he ended up playing this one.
He ended up play that with us.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I played with him.
Yes.
Right. I was like, did he ever play it? Oh, yeah,
he did finally get to play it.
But yeah, this is one that I've been looking at for quite a while before we got it, and I think every single play I've had, it's just moved up and up. I just really love kind of the snappy nature of turns and getting an income at the end of each turn. I think that's something that I really like in games, just to continually get the income for this one, and even being able to adjust like kind of your popularity to get points, or else your actual money income can kind of change throughout the game, and you can there seems to be a point in the game usually when you want to pivot from getting a bunch of money to buy tiles to actually getting points, which I really love. And it's just so satisfying when you do get those tiles to work together, and especially when you can play that doubler tile to reactivate a tile and just get a ton of benefits. It's so satisfying. Absolutely adore this game.
It is very satisfying, even though you whooped me this last time.
That was
50 points.
That was a big whooping.
We have only played it like at more than 2 players once.
Yep.
But I'd be interested to kind of see how those goals work. The worst part is you almost have to win one of those goals in a 2-player game, otherwise you're going to probably
big
lose.
Chunks of points.
Because they're almost too many points to overcome. Yep. I don't know that it'd be impossible, but it's going to be very difficult if your opponent wins. Yeah. Especially if they win both of them and not just tie one and win one. But otherwise it is a really satisfying game, and trying to combo those. But sometimes it can be hard to remember certain ones, like make sure if anyone gets an airport or an eater or a restaurant.
Like for every, that means yours and in other people's cities as well.
So that can be a little difficult to remember that, but no, it's a really solid game. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
We gotta start diving into the expansions finally. We introduced some
got
little
a lot
modules,
of tiles.
but got a lot to explore. And we usually play with just random tiles. There are ways they say, just pick tiles that have synergies, possibly, if you want that, or maybe you want chaos, like we usually
apparently
end up
do.
doing. But yeah.
Yeah. So then we get to our last S game here, and that is Scythe. And I have not said what my favorite one is yet, and it is Scythe.
What?
But yeah, this one's one that just
My favorite is Scythe too.
Such a liar. Every play of this, I just grow to love it more and more. It's just one that it's a puzzle that you're trying to solve every time based on kind of the faction and mat that you get, the kind of the combination, and then based on your starting location, trying to figure that out. Recently got the board where you can kind of change the original modular board. We haven't tried that yet, but I'm looking forward to eventually giving that a go. But this one's just one where there's a lot going on in the game, and we've done some content on this one, so you can probably check that out if you want to kind of see how it's played and learn all of that. But it just the ways that you can take an action and then pay to kind of take a bonus action that gives you coins, kind of gives which are kind of the scoring in this game is kind of your money. It's just, I love it. I love the art. There's so many things about this game that I love. You're going area control. It just all works really well, and it looks like it's going to be a big battling game, but it's really not.
Yeah. It grew on me in my last play that I had of it. I'm like, okay, just beginning to grasp it a little better. Was able to feel a little more satisfied in upgrading that board. So it's good. It could move up over the years, I think.
A little bit.
The plays. But not my number one. Suburbia is the latest one that I played of these, so that one's really hot in my brain. And like you said, I did whoop you pretty good. So like,
true.
I'm feeling like I want to say Suburbia, but I'd say Space Base is probably my favorite of these ones, even though it's been a while since I've actually gotten that one played. I just absolutely love that one. But like I said, Space Base, Seven Wonders Duel, Sushi Go Party, Suburbia, all of them.
It's a pretty solid letter for
Even
you.
So, Clover is really one I really like
quickly.
quite a bit. So yeah, it's a really, really solid letter, I would say.
Yeah, I would say if we ended up getting rid of any, like I said, for me it would be the Super Mega Lucky Box and Shards of Infinity, and possibly Sheriff of Nottingham or Scoville. But I think I'd probably be contested on getting rid of some of those. But you'll have to check out at the end of the year what we end up getting rid of. But otherwise, we hope to see you on that video or our future videos of our letters, or maybe our previous ones.
Yes, go check them out.
But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to
keep on nibbling
on our content.